Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Laura Cohen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Harriet and Kenneth Kupferberg Holocaust Center at Queensborough Community College at the City University of New York. Our mission is to use the lessons of the Holocaust to educate current and future generations about the ramifications of prejudice, racism, and stereotyping. We're excited to welcome you to a discussion about La Convivencia, exploring Sephardic music's traditions of peace and coexistence, featuring Merima Kluchko and Jelena Milusic. Today's conversation is co-sponsored by the Queensborough Performing Arts Center, Queensborough Community College's Department of Music, and the Harriman Institute at Columbia University. Now, to kick things off, I'd like to introduce Mirna Lekic. Mirna is Assistant Professor of Music at Queensborough Community College at the City University of New York. A pianist, she is an active recitalist, chamber musician, and educator. Her recent projects include two critically acclaimed recordings, a solo album titled Masks, and The Eastern Currents, a disc of contemporary chamber music. In 2016, she also served as a coordinator for the KHC National Endowment for the Humanities Colloquium on Displacement, Exile, and the Refugee. Mirna.
Thank you, Laura, and a warm welcome to our viewers. What you're about to see is the live Q&A session that followed the premiere performance of La Convivencia, an event that took place online on March 17, 2021. The performance portion of this event has been edited out in order to make a future commercial release of this music possible. La Convivencia is the work of two outstanding Bosnian artists, accordionist Merima Klucho and contralto Jelena Milusic, who have woven a musical narrative using arrangements of traditional Sephardic songs, selections from Merima's composition, the Sarajevo Haggadah, and the music of Flori Jagoda, a Bosnian composer and performing artist who preserved both Sephardic music and the Ladino language. In our post-concert conversation, Merima and Jelena joined us live from Sarajevo to talk about their inspiration for this project and what it has meant to them. They introduce us to the work of composer Flori Jagoda, discuss musical characteristics of Sephardic and Bosnian music, and share the incredible story of the Sarajevo Haggadah, which inspired Merima's composition of the same name. They also provide insight into their preparation process, as well as a brief introduction to the accordion. I was thrilled to have been a part of this rewarding project, and I hope that our conversation will inspire you to find out more about these wonderful artists. Thank you for watching. Welcome back, everybody. It is my pleasure now to invite Merima and Jelena to join us for a Q&A. Bravo, Merima and Jelena, and thank you for this beautiful performance.
Bravo, Mirna, and thank you.
Thank you for including me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. We are so excited. It's so strange to perform, you can imagine. I mean, I'm sure you feel it yourself as well. Usually when you perform, you're in the action of performing, but this is you're performing and you are watching and listening to yourself, and it's much more kind of
intense,
nerve-breaking, intense. In a positive way. It's very exciting, and then it's a really totally different way of experiencing your own performance.
True. And I'm glad that technology was on our side today, and this one.
I have to admit, we have to admit sometimes where we are not very much, because sometimes we had a song going on with a different picture, but it's our internet connection, I'm sure. So
just a little bit not synchronized at some moments. It was a discrepancy between the picture and sound, but just for some few moments, and then it was all back. But we checked with some friends, and they said that they had no problem, but they were in a different country, so I guess they had a better connection or something.
Yeah, that's the long distance pandemic concert for you. So thank you for making this this really extraordinary program. Maybe we can start by having you tell us how you came up with the idea, why La Convivencia?
Mhm. Actually, since we met, which is about 3 years ago, and when we were talking about different possibilities of making our first program, this idea immediately came up. But then we first actually went with the program of Lume and kept this idea for our next project. And the La Convivencia, coexistence, it's something we are born with, we grew up with, we still live with, and we will forever be for that. We are both actually...
We're striving for it. You know, I mean, it's not always, you're not always able to be surrounded by, or to be in the environment that is perfectly in tune with coexisting with one another. But this is what we feel in our soul. And as Merima was saying, La Convivencia is the best representation of that coexistence through art, through music, through different influences. And as Merima said in her introduction.
Yeah, so we are both, and you are too, we are born in former Yugoslavia, which was the La Convivencia in itself. So we experienced it as children. And it was really amazing to grow up in a society where everything was your culture. It was not divided. So unfortunately, very often, or most of the time, people are dividing culture. They say, this is yours, but this is mine, and this. So when we were growing up, everything was ours. So if you look at the culture, from culture, from songs, from music, for synagogues, churches, mosques, holidays, everything was our own culture. And then there came the moment when they say, this is not yours, but it's ours, and this is yours. So I never, and I will never go with that somebody take one part of my culture away from me, because everything, we are born in this world. So even if we are not surrounded with it, for example, if there is for example, we don't have Buddhism here, but that's also part of our culture, because this is, the world is, we live in this world, everything is our culture. So that's why La Convivencia, and that's why La Convivencia forever, in my case and in Yelena's case.
Sure.
Absolutely. And music seems like a perfect medium for expressing this.
Definitely. And the music is the universal language, and music is something that, that's actually great when they try to divide culture. Imagine to us as classical musicians, if they would say Beethoven is yours, but Tchaikovsky is not, or Shostakovich is not, or, So yes, we, as a musician, we are also grow up, and later when we study, we want to share as much as possible, and we want to learn as much as possible from different music, from different composers in the classical music. But then you want to hear you want to know something about jazz, you want to know something about traditional music. So as more you know, as more you are richer as a musician. And it's in the same way with personality and with everything we share in the world.
Absolutely. And, since it impacts us on an emotional level, it also brings us together. I mean, music is social. And even now we're doing everything to bring everyone together, even when we are so terribly separated by the circumstances.
Yes, we were supposed to come and perform at the Queensborough Arts Center. But this was the only option, and we're thankful that still we get the opportunity and the chance to present our work and to share it with you and with our friends, with the viewers, and it gives us a chance to explore it, to really put ourselves into it.
Yeah, thank you. The next question I wanted to ask you is a little bit about the music, and I'm looking at the questions that are coming in as well, so I'll try to incorporate those. What would you say are some musical similarities between Sephardic music and Bosnian music? Can you give us our listeners, our students, some idea about this.
Definitely. So what's very, very interesting, of course, there you can see also how people coexist with each other musically. For example, we share the same scales in the traditional music. And then when you look, it's a Phrygian dominant scale, or what they call gypsy scale, because it's gypsy, they use the same scale in flamenco, in Spanish music. And then if you go further from Spanish music, it's Arabic makam. So we come back to Arabic makam. So you see that actually we could say, oh, but that's typical scale for our traditional music. No, it's not. It's a very much, it's same like you were also mentioning the movie Whose Is This Song? When I don't know how many of you know about that amazing documentary when there is a song that's very common in Balkan and in Turkey, but in all Balkan countries, and everybody's saying it, no, it's our song, and they even fight to prove that it's their song. But actually, whose song is this, or whose scale is this? Then I came back to that, ours. It's not yours, it's not mine, it's not, from my neighbor, it's from all of us. And in the way, if we will go back, okay, we come back to Arabic scale, but then from Arabic scale, maybe we come back to Persians, or who knows? But in a way, so we use that same scale that they use in flamenco, that they use in Arabic traditional music. Next to that, we have, for example, 7/8 or other irregular rhythms that are very common in Balkan countries, mainly in Bulgaria and Macedonia, but also in Bosnia, also in Serbia. So those are, quite very strong two ingredients. Let's say if you would bake a cake, if you have already those two ingredients, you get a similar cake. You have chocolate and you have
Eggs.
It
will be chocolate cake.
It will be chocolate
Maybe
cake. Different flavor. Then you can put some strawberries on it, or you can put different other ingredients, but it would be chocolate cake. So that's the, so but mainly
and delicious
and very delicious. So mainly the Phrygian dominant scale and irregular rhythms and ornaments, which are also very common in Bosnian Sevdah music. So when we listen to recordings of Flori Jagoda, we can actually hear that she's singing Sevdah in Ladino.
Yes.
So, and she is more authentic than any other Sevdah singer I know at the moment, or she's really like some old singer we had, which are also not alive anymore, but you hear that way of melism, which we don't hear anymore. They had this special, very soft and very, very, very delicate. And I guess it's the way how they sang it in that time. And what's really beautiful, and what's also very tragic when I think about it, that those songs you had a possibility to hear today in very different arrangements, of course. But when I think that these songs, that there was a time in Bosnia that you could go to a coffee bar or to kafana, what they call it, like the pub, and you could hear this kind of music live. And now that we are, probably there are a few other people in Bosnia that,
or altogether in Balkans, maybe a few more that are performing and keeping this music alive. We are very fortunate to have Flori Jagoda and everything that she created that was very well documented.
Yeah.
Merim also has a great book from her that is called Memories from Sarajevo. So she was very well, very much connected to Bosnia, even though she fled during the Second World War when she was a young girl. She always kept coming back to it through her music, through her songs, reliving and reviving the memories of her childhood, of her family, of her nona, how they were celebrating holidays together. Everybody was singing and playing instruments together, and she really made if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have that much material to work with. And luckily, Sephardic music today is also well documented on internet. So when you need a translation of a certain song, when you need to hear a different version, you're able to go online and to look for it. And it gives you then the opportunity to create your own versions to keep this music alive. As Marima was saying, sadly, in Balkans, we don't have that many people doing it. I don't know if it's the reason, because there is not as many Sephardic Jews as they were before the Second World War in that time. So, but still, for me, Merima maybe got acquainted with this kind of music earlier, but I became acquainted with this kind of music maybe not even 10 years ago, when I was working on a different project with a friend of mine who introduced some songs to me. And I really like them. It's like you feel something and you feel it like it's yours. You don't understand it, but you love it from the instant, you know, and you just fall in love with it, and because you feel it like it's your own. And it is, you know, it is the music of Bosnia, of ex-Yugoslavia. And the more you get into it, you just, you know, there is no going back.
And I don't dare to think what would happen if Flori Jagoda was not there. You know, if she didn't really keep this culture alive, we would, yeah, that would be a huge, huge loss. You know, who would know of existence of such a beautiful, beautiful music, because it was, yeah, almost no Jews were left after the Second World War in Bosnia, and tragically, yeah, I'm really so I'm thankful that she was among us, and she just, while we were working on this project, she passed away, and I was really, I had this honor to meet her many years ago, and to become her friend and to share. We celebrated even one of my birthdays together, and that was really one of the nicest birthdays I had, and you know, sharing, she showed me some more, or she sang for me songs that night that I never heard before, and you know, so yes, and something she asked me, and I did promise, was really like that, please let's make it, let's promise me that you will continue this culture, that you will continue performing. I mean, I didn't have to promise it, I already wanted it. And of course I promised it, but you know, it's so beautiful that nobody needs to ask you. But it was also a big honor for me when she did that, of course, as well. And all I can say is I hope that many people will get inspired by this music and perform it as well, or you know, compose their own music in this style, or get inspired in the classical sense of composing music based on this music, and so on and so on.
Spoke about Flori. Our viewers might not know that she was born Flori Papel, and I'm looking at one question from the Q&A. I don't know if you're familiar with this figure, but the viewer is wondering if you can speak about Laura Papel Bohoreta. Are you familiar? And her legacy in Sephardic Bosnian culture?
Unfortunately, we would not dare to go into that without information.
For us to look up afterwards. So you're receiving lots of compliments on your performance, and commentary on some of the similarities. If we kind of move chronologically in your program, the next thing was Merima, your composition, the Sarajevo Haggadah, music of the book. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the story, what this book is and what happened to it, and how you got to write this piece?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the really amazing performance. I'm so glad that we collaborated on this. It's a composition for piano and accordion, and it's based on a story of Sarajevo Haggadah. I don't know how many of you know the story about Sarajevo Haggadah, but if I go into it, I could go for another 10 days. So please Google it. It's amazing story. So just to say a few words about the song, about the Sarajevo Haggadah, it's a book. It's a religious book used for Passover, for Pesach. And it is from, they think, from the 13th century, 14th century, from Spain. They are not sure. But then after the Alhambra decree, when Jews were expelled from Spain, Sarajevo Haggadah started its journey, and amazing ways. It went through who knows how many countries until it came to Bosnia. And what's really very important about this book is that it survived miraculously many disaster moments. So one of the movements that you performed, the Inquisitor, even one Inquisitor who probably burned thousands of Jewish books, didn't, for some reason, save this book, which is amazing. Then in the Second World War, it was saved in a way. Nazis wanted to take the book, and there was a director in the National Museum and curator who took it and hid it. And they hid it, or actually he hid it in a mosque, because he thought that, like, there's no way that Nazi will look for a Jewish book in a mosque. So there are many different stories that are really powerful, but the main reason why it was so dear to me, how different people for different cultural background and religious background risk their life to save a book, and to save a Jewish book. And I think that's really something. And after reading a book by Geraldine Brooks, People of the Book, she really made a beautiful way of telling the story, how Sarajevo Haggadah came to Sarajevo. And I was thinking, how would it be to make a musical kind of story or music journey of Sarajevo Haggadah? Or how would it be if Sarajevo Haggadah was a person and traveling like a musician? If Sarajevo Haggadah was a musician, what kind of music would Sarajevo Haggadah hear on its way to Bosnia? And so it has 12 movements, and it's actually every movement, it goes through history, through what we know, what we for sure know about Sarajevo Haggadah, and are dedicated to different people who saved the book, and they are dedicated to the story of its journey. And it's so 2 movements that you played are for piano solo, and the rest is for, of course, piano and accordion. But once we get together, I hope we will play the whole piece. So.
Yeah. So the work is for accordion and piano, and you also orchestrated it at some point. And could you tell our viewers a little bit about your instrument, and maybe some of the extended techniques, the special techniques you were using today, playing with the mallet, or anything you want to say about that?
Yeah. Okay, the accordion, first, many people think that accordion is the traditional instrument. They say, oh, traditional instrument. And it's actually, no, it's the most contemporary instrument you can imagine. It does play mostly traditional music, because until 30 or 40 years ago, we didn't have any music composed for accordion. Why? Because accordion is a baby instrument. It's one of the youngest instruments, saxophone and accordion. So to have an instrument to be, let's say, only piano is born to be on stage immediately, but all the other instruments had to go through different, had to deserve their place, their place in a, on the classical scene. And if you think about the violin, start with violin, like first it was also probably players were playing just the traditional melodies until some composer composed for violin. So it needs time and time and time until accordion gets its place on a classical scene, which is now happening. But what's happening, it's also very radical, because we don't have Bach, or we don't have Beethoven, or we don't have, so it's accordion is born after them. So all we have is either traditional music, which is nothing for classical scene, or very, very radical contemporary music. Radical, not for you or for me, but of course for people who didn't study music or who didn't study classical music. And when you all of a sudden hear classical music on the accordion, you think, what is this? So I don't know, it's very heavy, I would say, but you know how they say, if you don't try it at home, spare your back.
It's almost 40 pounds.
It's almost
40 it's
pounds.
about 40 pounds, yeah.
It's huge, see? Jelena cannot really believe how I can hold it. Sometimes I tell her, can you please hold it just to see how it looks, some things when it makes it. And she said, I don't know
how she can play this. I mean, I can hold it for up to a minute, and then I said, just get this off me.
So what's really interesting about the instrument, okay, those extended techniques are not really, you have bellow. So it's a lungs of the instrument. So everything is created. The air goes into the bellow, and that's how you create. It's like a mouth harmonica. So you have the air inside, and with the air, you actually make the sound. Then you have the bass, which is basically exactly the same as the right side, just with little buttons. And it has amazing range. It goes from the lowest double bass note, I don't know if you can hear it, and it goes until the highest piccolo flute note. And everything in between you can imagine. But then, when you think about the accordion music, accordion rhythm music, most of it sounds like something like that. So you have to love it, and you have to get into it. You have to mostly, study music. It's very intellectual. It's more intellectual than musical, let's say. You have to understand the expression. But what I did notice, that young children love it. And also when we were performing Lume, when we would ask children, what did you like the most? They said Addio Querida, which was,
you heard it.
So what I think, the same way Beethoven was too new, too progressive for his time, I think most of the music today is too progressive for our ears. But I think in 200 years it would sound like traditional music. After we get all these electronic sounds and everything, this will be acoustic instrument. And also we live in the time when we have so much noise around us, and composers compose, they get inspired with the sound of helicopter, or they get inspired with all sounds, which was different with Bach. He got inspired with Baroque ornaments, so the music is full of ornaments. And for the extended techniques, actually what I did, I played, rhythm on the bellow, because when the bellow is open, you really can make like a percussion. Or you can make this. Then sometimes when you can make the air sound. I don't know, can you hear it there? Because, can you hear it?
Right, try it again.
Things like that. And then, there are different registers you can change. There are chin registers, but there are registers. So in a way you can play different octaves by pressing just one register. It's like an organ. Actually, it's like an organ on your knees. And oh yeah, Jelena is saying also there is another way. There are two in the instrument that we use for classical music. Usually you have music accordions just for the traditional music. It's humpa bass. But that's one instrument. Let's say you have 3 instruments on your instrument, and you have this single note. When you can play melodies left and right, and I could go on and on and on and on. Maybe we can leave this for one workshop, accordion workshop at your school.
Well, that's great. I just wanted, our viewers to get an idea of why it sounds really like a full orchestra. And that's the effect that you create. And then, you look at Marima's voice, sorry, not Marima, but Yelena's voice, and, you hear many voices in one. So Yelena, how do you prepare for singing this kind of music, and what do you do?
Well, I prepare firstly and foremostly by thinking about it and really thoroughly talking about it with Marima, because for each song that we choose and decide to perform, the text is the basis, the meaning of the song, what is the message of the song, and that is the most important starting point, and what colors the song, its mood, its atmosphere, and how I then employ my voice to give it life. So basically, you have songs that are more easy and more airy and more flirty, that are not heavy, and then you can then feel it in the expression and in the color of the voice. Something like Pesach Alamano, which is a happy holiday song where the grandma is saying this, rabbi is saying that, everybody's together celebrating and happy. Then you have La Llave de España, which tells a very personal story of so many people who were expelled, and then their ancestors were carrying, like it's very symbolical, this key of the house that they left in Spain. So you have to give it, you have to really feel it and feel the words and what the song is telling and its meaning, and then to perform it. So I don't really, after that, I don't intellectualize it. I just try to rely on my emotions and on my feeling. But in the beginning, it's very important to understand the story and to really go deep into it. Then you don't have to think. But if you're just thinking about what notes and what phrase, you have to think about that in the beginning so that you get everything correct. But then you forget about that and also try to make it more of your own. It doesn't have to be, note by note or simply copying it. You do make it your you do make it your own. So later on, you're not thinking, you're just feeling it. First part of preparing for it is a thinking part and how everything will sound. Is it right? Once you get over that, then it really becomes part of you. And every time it's a different, but it has that how to say that base that never changes. The meaning, the feeling that you're trying to convey.
Yeah.
So that's how I go about it. But I think very, very important is not so much the beautiful singing and the sounds that you make, but conveying the story, what the song is telling. So you don't have to understand the words of the song that I'm singing, but you should have you should have a feeling what it is about as a listener. Mm-hmm.
And what's also amazing about Yelena, she has when I heard possibilities of her voice, I thought I finally found a singer who has more registers than my accordion. So it's really it's great to work with Yelena. It's amazing.
Likewise, I'm very, very pleased and honored.
Wow. This has been such a rewarding experience, really, for all of us involved. And I thank you so much. I will ask Laura Cohen, the director of the Kupferberg Center, to join us if she has any other questions or comments for our guests.
I just want to say thank you so much. I've been really moved and often to tears. I've been looking at the Q&A and there's so much love and so much positivity. And I think that that's really important and significant to recognize in this moment where there's so much tumult and there's so much polarization and so much focus on oppositional identities. And you talk so beautifully about this is our culture. And I was thinking about so much of the discourse around Holocaust and other genocides. We're always focusing on what was lost and remembering it almost in a way that's sacred. But I think today I was really thinking about how much this has been about positivity and preservation and remembrance and embodiment. And so I really, really want to thank you. So it's not so much focusing on what is lost, but really what is celebrated and remembered. So I want to thank you, Merima. I want to thank you, Yelena. Thank you, Mirna. Thank you to the Harriman Institute at Columbia University. Thank you to QPAC. Thank you to the Department of Music at Queensborough Community College. We're so grateful. In the chat, we placed Merima and Yelena's websites. This recording will be online, but these beautiful artists will be premiering and debuting their music soon. So this conversation will be online, but you can look to purchase their music soon. And again, we're really, really grateful. Thanks very much, everyone, and be well.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Bye.
Hope to see you soon.